So in this story today, it's interesting. It's called a surprising present, as you can see, of course, a surprising present. And at the top here, you can see it says, "Look for clues about what makes Fabergé's egg special." That's going to be pretty obvious. Um, what I'm going to do, like always, is, of course, read the story. I want you to read it with me, and then I want you to think about um, a pretty basic thing. What is the main idea of this story? What is the main idea? What's the point here? And then I also want to get some opinions of yours on this story because I think you'll definitely have an opinion about some of what's going on here in this story. And so we'll talk about that when I'm done reading too. So I'll keep talking. So listen up um, after the story is over, and I'll ask you a couple things, and we'll go over the questions together, and then you can answer them like normal. Okay? So let's read this together first. It's called A Surprising Present. The year was 1885, and Tsar Alexander III, the ruler of Russia, had an idea for a gift that would surprise and delight his wife, Maria. The traditional Easter gift in Russia was an egg, but Alexander didn't want to give her an ordinary chicken egg. When Maria saw the gift, she was astonished. The egg that Alexander had given her was about 2.5 inches tall and looked simple from the outside. When the Tsarina opened the egg, though, she found a yolk made of gold. Inside the hollow yolk was a small golden hen resting on a bed of golden straw. Inside the hen was a miniature diamond crown and a tiny ruby egg. Truly, this was a gift made for royalty. The egg's creator, Peter Carl Fabergé, enjoyed a lifetime of success as an artist after that. Every year, Fabergé made at least one imperial egg for the royal family. Because of the rare materials chosen and the delicate craftsmanship required, each egg often took an entire year to create. During World War I and the Russian Revolution, some of the eggs were lost. However, Fabergé's remaining eggs are now highly desired collector items for museums and art lovers around the world. 9 of the imperial eggs sold for $90 million in 2004. Okay, now I want to point out, what are they talking about an egg? Because they didn't explain this very well at all. Well, in Russia, they have these dolls called matryoshka, and they're basically, a lot of them are in egg shapes. And what happens is, and maybe some of you guys have these, but you open them up and you just keep opening them, and they keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. They're really neat. They're kind of like, so like my daughter has some of these matryoshka dolls, and they get really elaborate actually, and they do look like eggs. And then they're made of wood, and you open up the biggest piece, and inside of it is another one. You open that up, inside of that is another one. And you just keep going until you have the tiniest little bitty miniature version of the big version. The Matryoshka dolls. They're cool. I actually really enjoy them a lot. And they can get very elaborate. So that's what they're talking about when they're saying an egg. They're not talking about a chicken egg. Nobody's giving anybody a chicken egg for a present. They're talking about Matryoshka dolls. So that's why every time this Tsarina, Maria, the wife, kept opening it up, there was more gold and beautiful things inside. So, what is your opinion of this? Is this a neat story to you? Is this aggravating? Does it seem a little bit ridiculous? I guess to me, I'm going to give you my opinion. I mean, it does not have to be your opinion at all. But to me, when I hear stories like this, it just aggravates me because there were a lot of poor people in this um, Russian um, government back then, and to make an egg that costs so much money to give to one person when there are people hungry and needing more. and the king is having somebody create this egg that is now worth well over $90 million. Seems a little bit ridiculous. Seems like we do better things with our time and money. So Carl Fabergé, the eggs creator, yeah, that's neat. That's great art, and good for him that he was able to do that. But to take a year to create something for one person that costs that much money, and that's not helping anybody else, I do struggle with that. But anyway, that's a negative take on that. Maybe you don't have quite such a negative take on this story. But what I want you to do is look down at these questions now. And I want you to think about their answers, of course, and then you'll obviously have an opportunity to answer them. But number one says, why was Maria astonished by the egg she received? Well, hopefully that's pretty obvious to you. Number two says, why did Fabergé spend so much time to complete the imperial eggs? Well, hopefully that seems pretty obvious to you as well. Now, the word imperial, you can look that up if you want, but basically what it means is royal. It's meant for the highest members of their society. And number three says, based on the passage, it is reasonable to assume that what? And then you got to fill in the blank there. And then number four says, why are Fabergé's eggs so valuable today? Well, that probably is pretty obvious too. Now, if you look at the bottom, it says, circle the words that helped you figure out the main idea of the passage. And I want you to think about that, and I do want you to do that also. So, because we're going to focus on the main idea here. What is the whole point of this story we just read? I want you to basically give the main idea, but it's kind of, in a way, it's similar to a summary. It's not a summary necessarily. You don't have to summarize the whole thing. But what's the main idea here? Let's keep it simple, but give enough to where you actually answer that question. Okay? So now what I want you to do is simply answer the questions, and I want you to type in and really think about your grammar and your capitalization and your punctuation for that written out question. Okay? All right, have at it.